The story begins with Ula volunteering to work in the underground tunnels to maintain generators. This place is usually reserved for people on death sentence as a punishment, as on average, people don't survive more than a couple of weeks due to the multitude of dangerous disrepairs and menacing and hostile ghosts roaming the tunnels. Ula, the protagonist of the game, seems to be the sole survivor from her crew who were sent down to the tunnels, who is the only one who willingly chose to go down there. As she enters the initial tunnel system, being Sector F, her supervisor, Yaga, instructs her to fix the generators and watch out for ghosts who all happen to be female. As Ula enters the tunnels, she starts working on the generator, crafting batteries and gears to fix it up. That's when the first ghost appears, named Zamora, being a low-tier shucker. Zamora has a wrench in her hand and seems to have been one of the people who died in the tunnels, who has now forgotten who she once was. Her cause of death most likely was due to electrocution, hence how she possesses this power. Ula quickly manages to fix the generator and evade Zamora, who dashes and tries to shock Ula. The purpose behind repairing these generators is that they create some sort of shield, weakening the ghosts and making them lose their powers, rendering them safe and harmless. While the shields are up and running, the ghosts will simply roam around without posing any threat. Fixing up the generator, Ula kisses Zamora on the cheek, as if taming her. The strange encounter is not so strange after all, as the game is made by the same dev who made the Helltaker, where the protagonist collects a range of demon baddies, adding them to his harem of demon girls. But keep this in mind, as there is a certain reason why they need to be kissed and shown love to. Moving on to the second part of Sector F, Yaga, the boss, informs Ula that the ghosts feed on negative human emotions such as pain, fear, and anger. And without the generators, they would rip humans apart. So the more painful and brutal the death is, the more scared one is, the more a ghost becomes satisfied. The maintenance crew is called Tunnel Runners, and Ula is one of them. They are known as people having the deadliest job, and strangely, Ula has volunteered for this job. Much later, we learn Ula and Zamora knew each other from before. It seems as if Ula could have chosen to go down to the tunnels to find Zamora and reconnect with her. Zamora was a crew member who was sent down to the tunnels and died there, so Ula decides to go there and find her. Keep that in mind, as we'll get back to it later in the video. In the second run, evading Zamora successfully once again, Ula offers her pies with filled in pudding, with Zamora slowly giving in and bending her menacing demeanor. It seems like Ula and Zamora get on good terms, and with generators back up running the shields, Zamora becomes harmless. In chapter 3, named Cut Wire, Yaga confirms Ula is the only survivor out of all 9 girls who were sent down to the tunnels yesterday, which means 8 girls died within a day, leaving only 1 alive. The new ghost named Cutwire was seemingly a worker down here who died from an injury using wire cutters, as her weapon of choice for attack are wire cutters. Ula manages to quickly fix the generators and get the shields up and running, but of course not forgetting the kiss on the cheek, which Cutwire enjoys. In the interval, Yaga is seen drinking a poisonous denatured alcohol, which normally would be toxic to humans and would kill. But for Yaga, who has a fake liver, this is no problem. After all, she is a seasoned and experienced tunnel runner herself who has been down here longer than anyone, dealing with danger and threat and ghosts on a daily basis, so a little poison wouldn't faze her too much. Yaga seems to be a mess, all scarred up from previous near-death experiences, living in the worst possible place. Cold tunnels full of ghosts of previous tunnel runners, a reminder of how horrible the conditions are down here. To pass the days, she drinks poison, being the highlight of her day, waiting for the refill from the above. In the second part of the chapter, a new Cutwire ghost joins the battle, who is easily evaded by Ula as well. Ula kisses her on the cheek too, and then offers both of them pudding pies. The ghosts entirely enjoy it and appreciate the pies. We only learn the second ghost joined the fight just because the previous Cutwire ghost told her how she would kiss them on the cheek if they would try to kill Ula. So the second ghost seems to be a little freaky. just joining in for the kiss. In the interval, Yaga explains more of the backstory of the game on how most of the ghosts down here used to be tunnel runners, dying due to the dangers of maintaining the generators or from the hostile ghosts. Unfortunately for them, they suffer from memory loss after dying, not remembering who they once were, and giving in to their instincts of being hostile and trying to kill people. In the new chapter, we encounter Nikita, a low-tier smelter with a smelting torch. Having the Awaria cap, it's clear Nikita died from a smelting job accident which claimed her life, or maybe this was her profession and specialty when she died, even possibly from a ghost. She's now cursed to roam the tunnels, using this tool as a weapon to claim the lives of other tunnel runners. As Ula manages to fix the generator, she tries to kiss Nikita, but she is way too tall for her. Defeated at not being able to kiss her on the cheek, the biggest defeat that she has faced so far, she goes deep in thought when Nikita goes to the other section where the generators are still down. In the interval, Yaga is seen enjoying Ula's special pudding pies, referring to her as Pop, a term of endearment, also implying the age difference and the level of experience between the two. Yaga seems to be much older, possibly 2 decades older than Ula. She also talks about a mysterious VIP warehouse which seems to be somehow related to the tunnels, but a place with a much better working environment. After a rematch against Nikita, we find out what Ula was thinking about. After fixing the generators and rendering Nikita harmless, who cannot use her powers anymore with the shields up and running, Ula pulls out a stepladder and kisses Nikita, with Nikita saying some PG-18 stuff, snatching Ula off her feet. Ula is no rookie and she knows there are more ghosts to kiss, so she doesn't waste much time and goes on to go to the next tunnel. That's when Yaga radios in, explaining that she has been working down in the tunnels for over 20 years now. This explains everything to why she calls Ula Pup and their age difference of 20 years almost. Regardless, Yaga commends Ula's talent of tunnel running and how good she is at all of it. Despite her hardcore and tough appearance, Yaga is very empathetic and feels for all the tunnel runners, wishing none would face this cruel punishment. Ula fixes more generators in the tunnels, facing Zamora, Cutwire ghosts, and Nikita again and again, giving them more kisses and more pies, with all the ghosts enjoying them apart from Zamora, who for some reason is being stubborn and steadfast in her hostile demeanor. She's grumpy and explains how Nikita is supposed to be the deadliest ghost in the sector, who is now seen enjoying the pies and enjoying the kisses. She is rightfully surprised to what is happening, with her inner instinct as a ghost in the deadly tunnels being to murder. That's when Zamora explains the real reason to why she is held back and angry at Ula, explaining it's because of their past and history. Despite not remembering entirely who they were and who she was herself, Zamora instinctually seems to know Ula and how she never took things seriously when she bursts in electricity and becomes furious, ready to fight Ula. Meanwhile, Yaga radios in, just having learned about Ula volunteering for this job, not believing it and wanting confirmation from Ula herself. In the new section, Zamora becomes a high-tier shocker, being extremely dangerous and very fast. After a challenging battle, Ula managing to fix all the generators, Zamora all of a sudden smiles and commends Ula's resilience, calling her by her first and last name, Ula Osterka. She is confused and asks herself to how she knows that, when she has flashbacks on how they used to be close, they used to be friends, or even in a relationship. The flashbacks and fragmented memories are too difficult for Zamora to remember. They seem to be hurting her, so she tries to forget when all of a sudden she is the one who initiates the kiss, kissing Ula on the cheek. That's when all of a sudden a superior ghost in the hierarchy down in the tunnels appears, disappointed at Zamora giving in when the superior kidnaps Ula. Yaga tries her best to contact Ula, but failing to do so, she decides to go down in the tunnels herself and find her. Yaga's expertise and experience is well displayed here, taking on 3 different ghosts at the same time, the Cutwire ghosts and Nikita, easily fixing all the generators. She asks them where Ula is when the Cutwires explain the top tier ghost, Dr. Striga, was the one who took her down to the lower tunnels, which happened to be the deadliest tunnels. The poison drinking, strong and well experienced Yaga is horrified to hear that, as Striga even for her, is a menacing and dangerous ghost. Having cleared many sections, with the ghosts being harmless there, with the shields up and running, Yaga decides to go further down into dangerous territories in order to find Ula and set the generators up. That's when she faces Dr. Striga, an ultra-tier scrapper. With the prefix Doctor, Striga could have been an engineer with PhD who died while in the tunnels. She could have been the very person who installed and maintained the generators, who is now creating hostile robotic ghosts to attack other crew members. After managing to repair the generators, an angered and exhausted Yaga screams at Striga, calling her by her first name, Sylvia, revealing how well they know each other. After all, they have been down here in the tunnels, both doomed for years to spend it together. It turns out they had a verbal agreement that Sylvia Striga wouldn't attack anyone for 2 days each year, being Yaga's days off. Regardless, Striga breached that agreement, attacking Ula, making Yaga go back to work. It seems as if Yaga keeps these ghosts at Section A, but somehow they manage to get themselves to Sector F, which has lower tier ghosts. Continuing their battle, Yaga proves to be very fast and good despite her older age, when Striga reveals she has trapped Ula alongside Zamora in a pod as a bargaining chip for whatever reason. Zamora tells Ula that this is a lover's quarrel, as if implying Yaga had a history with Dr. Striga, who now tease each other, especially with Striga, as if wanting attention. Striga, having restrained Yaga, starts teasing her, wanting some attention, asking Yaga to show some enthusiasm, clearly displaying they had a thing in the past. That's when Zamora suggests the only way they could escape the pod, which is shielded by some power, is to combine hers and Ula's powers together by possessing her body. So now, a possessed Ula by Zamora's ghost managed to break out, taking on Dr. Striga. Ula, being very powerful now, easily fixes all the generators and sets up the shields. Despite all that, Striga seems to somehow bypass them. Yaga tells Ula and Zamora to get some rest, as she will take it from here. That's when Striga reveals the real reason behind her actions, that she has been being mistreated, wanting attention. Yaga all of a sudden decides to kiss Striga, but instead says how her attention-seeking stunts became boring and annoying 15 years ago, revealing that Yaga indeed had a history with Striga, and she has now stopped enjoying the stunts, hence why Striga is annoyed at her. They then continue on fighting and arguing. That's when Zamora and Ula rekindle their own relationship, but of course not without hurdles and miscommunications. This brings us to the gallery, where we learn about the backstory and the lore. In this fictional organization, when the higher-ups want their employees gone and to get rid of them, they exile them to work in the tunnels, which is a guaranteed death sentence. Ula Osterka was a rare case, however, as she chose voluntarily to go down in order to find her friend Zamora. So she sacrificed herself for Zamora, a truly selfless act, displaying how she cannot live without her. Zofia Zamora died from electrocution on her first day in the tunnels and came back as a shocker-type ghost. It turns out the most obnoxious people only come back as ghosts, and being in their ghost form, it makes them even more unpleasant. However, there is one secret weapon against them. If one can bypass the fear, the trauma, and the challenge of facing ghosts, if they show them affection and love, this would be an emotion which would feed the ghosts as well, which explains why Ula was kissing them. By showing the ghosts love, they can be tamed and satisfied, so they wouldn't be hostile anymore. That is why Dr. Striga seemed starved. She wanted Yaga's love. So when Yaga said her ghosts are kept in Sector A, she means that she has a harem of satisfied ghosts whom she shows love to. Moving on to Cutwire ghosts, which were two different entities. They were in fact the representation of one person called Caroline Cutwire. She was bisected by automatic doors, hence creating two different entities as ghosts, being two of her strong emotions. Despite the friendly nature of the tunnel runners and the ghosts who feed them by showing them love, the ghosts still crave for fear and pain, meaning Cutwire and Nikita still roam in Sector F and hunt Ula constantly. But when the shields are up, they hang in the lower sectors and play games. Yaga, over 20 years, collected the ultra-tier ghosts in Sector A. She had a dream of having a harem of the deadliest ghosts, and it worked out in the beginning. But eventually, the reality of the dream started showing that ghosts are hostile beings and cannot be friendly love items. A good example is Dr. Sylvia Striga, who constantly craved for attention, and if she wouldn't receive it, she would become aggressive and deadly, harming other tunnel runners. Dr. Striga died from failure of her artificial heart and became a rare, scrapper-type ghost. Striga and Yaga eventually make up, at least temporarily, drinking the poison together, which is clearly stated to be undrinkable and poisonous, and the duo can only drink it because they are, of course, fictional characters. Eventually we get a glimpse of how the ghosts and the tunnel runners keep themselves entertained, who run a cooking show with one of the episodes covering the instructions for cooking pudding pies made by Ula. And that brings us to the end of the video, folks. If you enjoyed it, make sure to stay tuned for more by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. As always, it's been your host Dar. Thanks for being here, and I will see you on the next one. Have a fantastic day.